Jeremy S. Cook here, and today I'm going to be going over how I made a bike speedometer that displays speed and light, not numbers like you would expect traditionally. It uses a GPS unit, so instead of having to hook it to a wheel so that you need an external wire and a magnet or whatever, you just hook it up. It could be used anywhere, even if you're walking. So here's the circuit. I've got a battery, the GPS unit. I've also got a battery charger module that's not shown there. And then I'm using an Arduino Pro Mini because that should save just a little bit of power when it's on. Got the RGB lights and the button for an interface. With that plan in place, I programmed it using an Adafruit USB to TTL converter. It makes a cool red and green light when it's programming it, which is pretty neat. And then once it's programmed, it actually gives a flashing light, just kind of a test light at that point. Also tested out with the GPS unit. You can see here it turns from red to yellow and then green. Pretty sure it's not quite correct, but at least I knew something was working. I also plugged in the USB charging circuit to make sure if it was putting out some amps, and it is putting out a fraction of an amp. There's my design for the outer case. I 3D print that, but I went ahead and measured it to begin with. It needs to be about 2.5 inches on the ID on the inside there, and about 1 inch high and about 1 3/8 inches on the other dimension. With that all in mind, I drew it out in Fusion 360, drawing the inner dimensions on kind of a rectangle there, and then put some radii on it. And then use the offset command to go ahead and draw the outer wall. This would copy all the radiuses correctly and everything and make it look really nice. From there I could just extrude everything and make the outer wall, and then the wall on the bottom, or the bottom surface, I could just extrude as well with the whole thing. Made that pretty easy, thinking through the way to do that. From there I went ahead and extruded a cut down the top to make kind of like a box top, and then from there I made the actual top on it. The bottom I was going to extrude in black PLA, and then the top would be clear PLA. And those bottom holes are for zip ties, and then a couple button holes, and then a hole for the USB interface. There it is printing out. I only had to make one copy of the main base, but the top I had to make a little bit higher so it could accommodate just a tiny bit more room. From there I took everything apart to see if it would all fit inside my enclosure. It was definitely going to be tight, but as it turns out I was able to fit everything in with the extended top. There's the interface button. I'm soldering that down there, and then I soldered the other edge on, and actually clipped the other edges so that it would save a little bit of space and save potential shorts, make that a little bit harder to do. There's the power button. And then all that was hot glued on. Wasn't sure if that would hold very well, but it did a good job. So more and more hot glue on this project, but made for a nice compact enclosure. Had to put these zip ties on before I actually put the batteries in permanently. But once that was all fixtured down, went ahead and soldered in the power connector, and the hot glue held. Turning on a little test pattern right now. I then soldered on the interface button and the TX and RX of the GPS unit. Pretty simple commands really, but I use the tiny GPS++ library for this, and then my main loop I just had two options. It either goes to a blinking light or a GPS light where it goes from red to yellow to blue to green depending on the speed. In this case I programmed in 13 miles an hour for the top speed, the green speed, then 9 for blue, 2 for yellow, or over 2 for yellow, and then anything under that is red because you're pretty much stopped. You can obviously adjust that depending on what your goal setting speeds are, and in action it's nice to have something to say, okay, you need to go a little bit faster or whatever. Also has a routine where it goes just blinks a white light. That could be pretty good for just riding at night or whatever, because it's pretty bright. So there I am attaching everything to my handlebars. Obviously I don't want to take it off too much, because then I have to pretty much redo everything. So there's my dog Evie. Hi. And it's time for a little test. I'm strapping it onto my cup holder that I made in a separate video. I'll put a link to that in the upper right hand corner. And as you can see here, it's not really working. Something was wrong with it. But I tried out the right white blinking light, and that worked pretty well at least. As it turns out, I had to jiggle it a little bit. I don't know what was happening, if there was some loose connection. I think that's probably a pretty good bet, but after that it worked pretty well. You can see it here, it goes from red to yellow, blue, and then green. Since then, it's been working pretty well. I've tried it on a couple different rides, and it's really nice to be able to just have a quick reference, to be able to look down and say, okay, I'm going as fast as I wanted to, or maybe I need to speed up a little bit. Obviously, if you want your exact speed, you need a digital type speedometer, but this is a nice little reference for that. As you can see in just a minute, it doesn't show up quite as well during the daylight, at least not on camera, but it's definitely visible in person. So that's really what counts, I guess. So from there, it's going to yellow and then red for pretty much not going anywhere. And you can see the blinking white light here. It's quite bright, and you can tilt it over if you want to make it more forward oriented. You can see in just a second a demo of it during the day. Sorry for the sidebars, it was taken with my cell phone, but it kind of illustrates that you can see it even if it's not quite as contrasty on video. So thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, I'd love if you gave it a thumbs up or subscribed or even left a comment. Or if you want to share it, even better. This is Jeremy S. Cook, signing off.